saw the teeth marks on the foam cup. Immediately he thought of a way to break out of prison. He tore a piece of foam from the cup. He then arranged for two of his teammates to deliberately argue in front of the guards to attract the attention of the guards. At this point Roy pretended to come over and intervene. When the guards weren't looking, Roy quietly used the foam in his hand to print the guard's key. This teammate used the impression on the foam while working in the workshop, making a key from brass. The mate handed the key to Roy. Roy had seen the guard use the key to open the maintenance room. He wanted to test whether the key he had just made could open the lock of the maintenance room. He noticed a guard walking up and down the corridor. He calculated that it would take 17 seconds for the guard to make a round trip. Roy had to try the key in 17 seconds and leave quickly. The moment the guard turns around, Roy immediately runs for the door. He only has a few seconds to try the key. Roy nervously turns the key. Luckily the lock was open. He was satisfied. By this time the guard is heading back. Roy immediately locks it. Get out before the guard notices. Roy decided to take the next step, digging a tunnel through the basement of the maintenance room. This would allow him to bypass the prison walls from underground. The exit of the tunnel would be in the warehouse outside the prison walls. This would be the shortest route to dig and less likely to be discovered. They were given 2 hours a day to be outside. When the guards weren't looking, they immediately used the key to unlock the maintenance room to avoid detection by the guards. The door is locked by the team outside. Two teammates use tools to dig the tunnel. In 2 hours they can dig about 1 meter. Towards the end of the outdoor activity, the outside team member quietly opens the door with a key and let the two men out. After a month of digging in this way they finally reached the bottom of the warehouse. The floor of the warehouse was concrete. They used a stolen drilling machine, drilling through the concrete. As the number of holes increased, a gap was soon made in the concrete floor. The escape tunnel is now completely open. That's when the alarm inside the prison suddenly goes off. Roy instantly became nervous. Oh my god. The prison was on lockdown. All the inmates were going back to their cells. It turns out that the guards have discovered that a drill is missing. They were checking it out. Two of Roy's teammates were still inside the tunnel and hadn't heard the alarm. Once the two had missed their roll call, the guards would definitely find them. The escape plan will then be completely exposed. Roy had to take the risk of going back and informing his team. He opened the maintenance room when the guards weren't looking. He runs in. He tells his two teammates to get back to their cells. Luckily, they got back in time. The guards didn't suspect anything. To avoid a long night's sleep, Roy decided to escape the next day. It was outdoor time. The 6 prisoners burrowed into the dugout tunnel. They slowly crawled forward. Before long, they crawled through the tunnel and into the warehouse. Several men disguised as construction workers. Then Roy pulls open the door to the warehouse. The escape was almost complete. Roy sticks his head out to check. There was a guard on the guard tower watching him. Roy breaks into a cold sweat, but he can't show the slightest sign of nervousness. Roy nods to the guard. The guard nodded back in response. Several of his teammates then gestured while holding drawings, trying to slip out from under the guards' noses. They were very nervous, but they had to act naturally. They slowly made their way to the door. The men were so good at acting. The guards with the guns didn't see anything wrong. Roy quickly turns the door handle and opens the door. They managed to get out of the prison.